Final round action at the RBC Canadian Open on CBS did not disappoint. Ryan Fox and Matteo Manassero co-leaders at 14 under, but that lead lost by the time they took to the first tee. 13 golfers within 3 shots and plenty given chase. Sam Burns, company included, caught a heater after a birdie at 10, here at 11 from range. Perfect pace, perfect line, match it up to 14 under he goes. Another at 12, now at 13 from 12 feet with conviction. 4 birdies in a row, ties the lead at 16 under with Kevin Yu. Didn't let off the gas. Next hole, the par 3 14th at the rink from 146. He loves it, and he should. 6 feet from the cup, makes the birdie from there. 5 in a row for Burns, and into a solo lead. Jump ahead to the par 5 18th. Burns looking to get it to 18 under, enter the clubhouse, with a 2-shot lead from 9 feet. Never not in. Burns with a fist pump at the last, but would it be enough? Enters the clubhouse with the lead at 4:02 Eastern time after an 8 under 62 on Sunday. What more could you do? More would be asked of him, but first, Cameron Young needs a birdie at the last to grab a share of that lead at 18 under. His second into the par 5 18, going for it, and airmails everything. Now a bunch of work coming back. Got to get up and down to match that lead. And out of the thick stuff, just about leaves it at his feet. Chunks it. Heartbreak for Cam Young, or is it? One last chance. Got to hole it to match Burns at 18 under. Oh my goodness, did he do it? Just goes racing by on the right side, and that would be it for Young. T4 at 16 under. Back to Ryan Fox, your co-leader entering this final round. 54 holes of near perfection, but he's going to need to be every bit of it here on Sunday. 1 back with 2 to play, approaching to 17 from 190. Looking to get one on the field. Not many birdies there on this day. 8 feet under the hole, a great look. Birdie, birdie, you're thinking maybe he does it in regulation, but this thing goes begging on the low side, yanks it, never scared the hole. Fox now needs a birdie at the last to force a playoff. Has birdied 18 each of his previous 3 rounds this week. Burns staying loose on the range. Fox is third after laying up. From just inside 100 yards, got to wedge it close and make the putt, but leaves this one fluttered out right now, 16 feet. Lots of work from there, but it's time for man to meet moment. Got to jar it for the playoff. Ryan Fox doesn't want the day to end from 17 feet. It falls. Just like that, we're heading to a playoff. The New Zealander giving Sam Burns a reason to restart the engine. Fox won his first PGA Tour event in a playoff back in May. That was the One Flight Myrtle Beach Classic, a step up in class here. They will again play the par 5 18th. Fox with a deep birdie bid to apply some pressure to Burns, but doesn't fall this time. So Sam Burns, after a nice wedge, going to have 7 feet for the win. He's made these all season long. The putter buoying, some spotty play, and just kisses the cup, and they play on. It's the par 5 18th again. We'll spare you the details. Both make par at the 2nd and 3rd playoff hole. So on to the 4th playoff hole. Back to 18T. Pin placement recut and changed. Trying to inject some reason to go after it, and Fox going to take the bait from 258. Called it the shot of his life. Down the chimney. 8 feet for eagle, and now pressure on Burns. He would reach the green safely in 2, but after his eagle look goes long, the birdie putt catches lip, and that takes all the intensity out of this moment. 2 putts for the win for Ryan Fox. First one from 8 feet, just nestle it close. Well, a little work from there, but work he's willing to do. Ryan Fox, after all of that, your winner at the RBC Canadian Open on the 4th playoff hole, and it's heartbreak for Burns after carting an 8 under 62 just to earn himself that opportunity. It's not enough as Fox betters him on the 4th playoff hole, the 76th of the week. Ryan Fox, now a 2-time winner on the PGA Tour.
Ryan, you said it took you a while to settle in here on the PGA Tour, but now it's taken just 4 weeks and 4 playoff holes here, and you're now a 2-time winner out here. What did it take to get this one done?
I mean, It was tough. I had some great shots down the stretch in regulation. Probably got a little lucky on that putt on 18 in regulation. It snuck in the left door. And to be honest, Sam and I had a bit of a pillow fight there for 3 holes. There was some pretty average golf from both of us, some average putting. But, that shot I hit on 18 at 3-wood was probably the best shot I've ever hit. And, it would have been nice to make it, but hey, I'll take it.
Jim Nantz called it memorable. It certainly was. Jim, his daughters asked, did you win? He said, yes, I did.
Yes.
Winning amongst family and now a multi-time winner on tour. Took him 67 starts to get his first, and now 2 in his last 4. He becomes the 5th multiple-time winner on tour this season, joining Rory McIlroy, Scottie Scheffler, Sepp Straka, and Ben Griffin. Action on tour continues next week at the U.S. Open. For more, we take you into the Super Tower, where it's overtime for Trevor Immelman, a playoff here on CBS. Trev, thrilling stuff there down the stretch, but I want to take stock of this whole day for Fox. You lose the lead before you take the first tee. You drip one in at the last, and then, as you put it, a bit of a pillow fight coming home. What does this day in summation mean for Ryan Fox?
Yeah, for sure. A little bit of a roller coaster for him. There were so many good scores going out early, but he hung in there really well. I thought the opportunity at 17 that he missed after a beautiful 6-iron may cost him, but the great putt in regulation just to get into the playoff, then things slowed down just a little bit, but he just called that 3-wood that he hit in the 4th playoff hole the best shot of his life. Just an incredible floating 3-wood up there, and unfortunately with Sam Burns' 3-putt, just needed to get his 2nd win in his last 4 starts. Completely career-changing this last month for Ryan Fox.
It's been amazing stuff to watch, and another win here for Fox and his camp as they take this one home north of the border. We have the U.S. Open coming up next week, but a final thought here on Fox and on this tournament, because no matter where we take it, drama seems to follow north of the border. Trevor, what is it about this contest? We were 20 wide, and we get a 4-hole playoff that continues to produce these types of finishes.
Yeah, this tournament sure has delivered in the last few years. We've had amazing finishes. We all remember the 4-hole playoff that Nick Taylor and Tommy Fleetwood, how much fun that was to watch. McIlroy's got that win last year, with McIntyre having his father on the bag. And now we get a little extra time as well. It's kind of fitting after the 2 overtime NHL games that we've had in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So it's been a blast up here as always, and look forward to coming back next year.
Well, I'll pencil you in for 76 in that chair next year, Trevor. We appreciate your extra time as always.
Thank you.
Here's a look at it once again. Myrtle Beach Classic, alternate field event. Ryan Fox chips in a moment of distinction, his first PGA Tour victory. 3 starts later, a bigger one in a bigger place against a bigger field. Your winner at the RBC Canadian Open.
A Kiwi wins at the Osprey.
It's now Fox ×2, and it took 4 extra. Jason Sobel and Rick Gehman here to take stock of what we saw coming down the stretch and even to start the day. And that's where I want to go first here, Jason. You're in the final pairing. You've done everything you need to do over 54 holes. You lose the lead an hour before you take the first tee. Then you got to pour in a 17-footer to force the playoff. What sort of fortitude was required of Ryan Fox over this last 5 or so hours?
Look, this is a guy who's been there, done that. He's won multiple times on the DP World Tour. He's been Player of the Year over there, won some big events. He won on the PGA Tour just a month ago. And I have to think that that win in Myrtle Beach freed him up for this one. He didn't have to think about getting a 2-year exemption, didn't have to think about the points, didn't have to think about getting into the FedexCup playoffs. He's got a lot of good things already coming to him. And I think that is what probably kept him going as he went from the top of the leaderboard, slid down the leaderboard a little bit, came back up. It was a wild day. A ton of contenders. They go to 4 extra holes. In Canada, they call that quadruple overtime hockey, but he got it done in the playoff, makes birdie there. The first birdie, oh, by the way, of the 8 times combined that they played that 18th hole, even with moving the goalpost in the middle of it.
I'm glad you guys mentioned kind of what the start of the day was, because this was the logjam of all logjams. There were probably 24 guys who could have won this golf tournament going into the final round, and I think that still might be low. And we were going to see a couple of really impressive performances at the end of this tournament, no matter what, just because of how many guys were in the mix. Sam Burns goes out early, shoots that 62 post, and then has to sit around for 2 hours, and everybody has to chase that number. And for Ryan Fox to chase it down and to do it in a fashion where he knows, he said, I'm a scoreboard watcher. He knows exactly where he is at every moment of the tournament. For him to go out there and make a birdie when he has to, I'm impressed. You know, the victory a couple of weeks ago in Myrtle Beach, it was an opposite field event. You can poo-poo that all you want. You're not going to be able to downgrade this one in a field that had Rory McIlroy and Ludwig Oberg and a handful of other top players. And to go up against Sam Burns, who has 5 wins on the PGA Tour since 2021, and come out victorious, yeah, Ryan Fox is here. That was very impressive stuff.
So just to recap here, I have Burns with a short miss at the 73rd. Fox doesn't even scare it at the 74th. A pillow fight at the 75th, and then Fox offers a thing of beauty from the fairway with that medal, setting himself up for the 2-putt and the win. It's all about framing, and you can look to certain things here. If you're Sam Burns, the emotion's going to be all the same, but you make 9 birdies, you shoot a 62 to get yourself into a playoff. You set the number, you sit and wait for 2 hours. Rick, how do you frame this if you're Burns?
Positively, right? If I'm the first person to talk to Sam Burns, I am congratulating him on a beautiful 62, the round of the day. I'm getting him excited about what the possibilities are around Oakmont and that his game is peaking right before we get to a major championship. I'm reminding him that it was unlikely that he was even going to be in a playoff when this day started. All of that and then some, Joe, because I think that is the right way to frame this. Golf is an incredibly mental game. The last couple of months for Sam Burns have not been great, but the last 5 starts have been much better. He is certainly on an upward trajectory, and you don't want a little bit of negative self-talk ruining that trajectory going up and to the right.
Look, Rick, this one is going to sting in the moment. This one's going to hurt. He's going to have a sleepless night tonight thinking about what could have been. It's been more than 2 years since Sam Burns' last of those 5 PGA Tour victories. That said, probably the best thing for him is that he doesn't have time to wallow in his misery. He's not going home and taking a week off. We've got the U.S. Open coming up this week, so I'm sure he's going straight to Oakmont and worrying about trying to strategize his way around a difficult golf course. That's to put it very understatedly. This is going to be one of the most brutal tests that we'll see in years. And so the fact that Sam Burns essentially has to just turn around and go back and play golf again, I think is probably a good thing for his mindset. But yes, you're right about it in the big picture scheme of things, that this is good news for Sam Burns. Look, the game is trending in the right direction. You came close 99.9% of the time. When I'm asked whether a player will take good vibes from a close call or bad vibes, I'm saying it's a positive. The more times you get into contention, you have the heat of the battle on you, the better. Of course, there's that .1 when, you know, Rory McIlroy missed a couple of short putts at the U.S. Open like he did last year. But other than that, it's a good thing when you're in contention.
Jason, I hear you itching for some U.S. Open talk. We're going to get there in a second, but let's close the book here on the RBC, because Sam Burns, I'd be interested what this one looks like through the lens of Captain Bradley as he tries to assess the back half of his Ryder Cup team. Comes into the week ranking 24th in the Ryder Cup rankings, but we do know he has some experience in those team formats. Rick, I do want to look at this one from a different angle, because it doesn't matter where we take the RBC Canadian Open, this national championship delivers finishes like this, playoffs, crazy moments. Statistically, can you point to something that gave us this 20-wide week coming down the final furlong?
Well, there's a couple of things in there, Joe. First off, Sam Burns' chances of making the Ryder Cup team are also greatly improved because of who his best friend is. Scotty Scheffler would be a very good pairing, and they've played together in international team competition prior. I think the way that TPC Toronto laid out was so much fun because of how many holes played over par and how many holes played under par. You know, you can have a golf course that plays straight to a 0, straight to its par 70, and you could have, you know, 15 holes play under par and 3 play over par. This was a pretty even split, and there were a lot of half pars out there, meaning that there was an opportunity to create a lot of movement, and we saw that particularly on Sunday on holes 10 through 15. All of those holes played under par in the final round, and we saw some big swings throughout this golf course, and it just creates this level of excitement. You don't know if a guy is going to make a birdie or a bogey. We know that holes in hand is probably a good thing around TPC Toronto in the final round, but there's still plenty of trouble lurking. So it just creates enough doubt, enough enough risk-reward shots. The final hole being a 3-shot par 5 and playing it over and over and over again is my only issue in the playoff, but otherwise it was a stout golf course that returned a lot of great entertainment.
Yeah, hey, at least they moved the whole location on that 18th hole, which I thought was interesting. I don't mind the move as far as, we're changing things up just a little bit. Rick, you're the stat guru around here. I've got a stat for you. We already saw that we now have 5 multi-time PGA Tour winners this season. Well, each of the last 5 events had been won by a player who had already won earlier this season. Of course, Ryan Fox already won in Myrtle Beach just a month ago. Scotty Scheffler won just last week at the Memorial Tournament. Before that, the PGA, and he already had a win under his belt. Ben Griffin at Colonial, he had won, of course, the Zurich Classic. And Sepp Straka, who won the Truist Championship after having won earlier this year. That's a lot of repeat winners. I know we're going to talk U.S. Open in a minute. I have a feeling we might talk about a player who already has a win this year, but I don't know. There's a trend out there that's been 5 weeks in a row with a player who already has a win this year, so maybe it continues when we get to Oakmont.
Winning begets more winning, and it's not just Scotty Scheffler. Jason Sobel and Rick Gehman offering their thoughts here on the tail end of another Ryan Fox win, his second of the season to go along with Myrtle. Now a winner north of the border. Time now for your FedEx Cup update presented by FedEx, where now meets next. Back with the guys as we take a look at that board. Ryan Fox clipping his second win of the season. Still not cracking that top 10 just yet, but multi-time winners at the top that we spoke of. Scheffler, McIlroy, and Straka still headlining this group. All right, Jason, we explored this a bit last week after the rule change came out with no starting strokes, but I want your point of view on it here and how players might alter their approach here down the stretch, maybe taking a week off somewhere, maybe hanging it up when we wouldn't think they would. What do you think the stretch run looks like for those in the top 10 as we look at the FedEx Cup standings?
So, Moose, I think that the players, by and large, are in agreement with this. It's sort of the lesser of all evils. I don't think anyone was really on board, especially Scotty Scheffler, with the staggered scoring start going into the Tour Championship. But I don't think anyone was really on board with match play either. That idea had been floated. So, hey, how about let's have a golf tournament? Then we play 4 rounds, 72 holes. Whoever has the lowest score wins the golf tournament and wins the FedEx Cup. That seems to make the most sense. That said, I don't see any of these top players altering their schedule at all. Maybe we see a few players who are outside the top 70 and trying to get into the playoffs, add a couple of tournaments down the stretch, as we've seen from players in the past who are trying to get in. But as for the guys we just saw inside the top 10, those guys are free and clear already. Those guys are have a road paved to East Lake for the season finale. And once they get there, look, at this point, all you got to do is get in. You need a chip and a chair at East Lake for the Tour Championship. You've got a chance to win the whole thing. You've got as much a chance now as Scotty Scheffler does, which I think will be exciting for some of the players who are 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, the guys who are just sneaking in at the end there.
I see this a little differently than Jason does. I think the top players are absolutely going to alter their schedule, but I think it's going to come in the playoffs, right? We have seen most years since going to the staggered start that the big guys are going to play all 3 of the playoff events. This is why they went from 4 playoff events to 3 playoff events, to make sure the guys aren't taking weeks off. Well, now there really is no incentive in being golfer number 1 or golfer 29 going into East Lake. So what is the incentive for the guy who wins in Memphis to play the BMW Championship? There's not. His spot will be locked up at East Lake. If you're Scotty Scheffler or Rory McIlroy or any of these guys who are going to have plenty of FedEx Cup points over the final couple of weeks, you're going to find that they take one of the playoff events off to make sure that they're in the best shape, because they're not going to be spotted those strokes anymore. They're going to have to play from even par just like everybody else. They will still have an edge. They're still the best players. They're still 72 holes where everybody starts at the same score. We should see some of the best players rise to the top, but I would find it hard to believe, particularly if you're Rory McIlroy, particularly if you're Scotty Scheffler, who's played a couple of extra Texas events this year. If they played all 3 playoff events, I'd be pretty surprised.
I think most notable to me in that release, they might try and make East Lake look more like Oakmont. A final word here from Jason.
Yeah, Rick, I think you make a great point there. I hadn't thought about that. I would be very surprised, though, if the PGA Tour hasn't spoken to these players saying, we need you. You can't sit out. Yeah. These are big events. We've got big sponsors. You can't be sitting at home.
There will be ice-cold water on every tee box, because those are heated events in more ways than one. Gentlemen, we appreciate the thoughts here. It's our FedEx Cup update.